Hello, I'm an amateur game designer, and I made a platformer specifically to make people suffer. So, over the New Year's, I decided to actually do something for once in my life and actually commit to something. And that being, actually starting my game development journey. And so I thought to myself, what would my first game actually be about? And then I thought about getting over it, and how it's an insanely simple concept made extremely difficult for the sake of being difficult. And then I thought to myself, how about I make a platformer that's like that? And that's where the start of the development journey of a needlessly hard game came to be. So I started with making the character model for the player. I'm not that experienced with modeling characters in Blender, so I made this.
I'm ugly and I'm proud!
Then I made some animations for him and ended up experiencing the absolute pain and torture that is trying to import into Unreal from Blender. So for you youngins trying to learn the engine yourself, Blender apparently uses units of measurements that are completely different to Unreal's, so you basically just gotta change up the measurement system on your project file. Look, I can't explain it very well, so just look it up on Google. There's a bunch of forums that you can find that explain it way better than me. So after spending, I'm not kidding, an hour and a half fixing just that, I finally got the animations working, and this is what it looked like. As you can see here, I made a little spike trap. Also, while we're on the topic of the spike traps, there was this really dumb bug in Unreal's code that basically made it so the move component 2 function only worked in blueprints, but the C++ version of the function didn't. What? So finally, after fixing that bit, I made it so that whenever you activate the spikes, it restarts the level.
Day 2.
Off camera, I made a little test map and some glorious, beautiful cell shading. I basically spent the majority of this day trying to figure out a camera system. Took me a little bit, but I eventually figured it out. Then I started getting to work on a ragdoll system for whenever the player dies. I mean, come on, it's just a ragdoll system. There's no way that this could take an all day. Ooh. Huh. Well, that's 40 minutes of my life I'm never giving back. Anyways, I eventually threw the ragdoll idea into the trash can and came up with a blood particle system instead. And to make the texture for the particle, I just went to GIMP and did this. After doing that, I basically learned how to do a particle system myself, and after I figured it out, I came up with this.
Day 3.
I started this day with figuring out a system where the longer you hold down the spacebar, the higher you jump. And then one of my moderators suggested I do something truly, truly evil. One of the most despicable and unholy things you could do to a player. I gave the jump button a % chance to not work.
I beg your pardon?
Then I started making a moving platform because, come on, it's a platforming game. You can't have a platforming game without moving platforms. Oh, and I also put a spike trap there because I'm just that cruel. Then I decided to make a sandpit trap. I decided to use Unreal Engine's Apex Destruction plugin for this because I wanted to make it look like it was crumbling underneath you. And with something as easy as this, it couldn't have taken me that long.
2,000 years later.
Nah, forget it, I just made the platform disappear under him. Cool, epic, let's move on.
Day 4.
Off camera Owen strikes again, because off camera I made this lovely little transition. Also off camera, I realized that I made a mistake. So in order to get the jump height functionality implemented, I had to add a 0.01 second input delay in order for the jump height to actually be applied. Later on, I made the incredible decision to make the jump delay randomized. However, this in itself created a side effect where the maximum jump height is determined by how long the jump delay is. So, yeah, that's gonna be irritating to play with, but, I am the developer and you are the player, so I don't care. Then I basically spent the rest of this day making the level, and someone in my chat pointed out a very significant aspect of this game. Make this level big, and when you die you get back to the start, no save. Make this level big, and when you die you get back to the start, no saves. That is exactly my intention. you cannot save. You literally cannot save the game.
Ain't I a stinker?
And to make matters worse, there are scenarios like this all over the place where you're just like, oh, this is sick. And then you're like, oh, I shouldn't do that. Instead, I should do this. Even when I'm testing this still happens to me. Oh, I did it. Okay. So that is in fact possible. And to make matters even worse, there are constantly places like this bullcrap where you literally have to be just like, it doesn't even look like you're on the platform anymore. You need to be that far off of it in order to not die. Because if you go through this part normally... But then I thought of a really cruel trap. It's a trap that has a really rare chance of appearing, but if it does, you just lose. It just guarantees a loss. And what is this insanely unfair trap, you ask? A fire pit? An explosion? A nuke? Nope. It's a gun, cause nothing spells defeat to your enemies than gunpowder with a pinch of freedom. I then basically spent the rest of this day modeling the gun. I started with coding in the actual functionality of the gun. So after some materialing and coding, I finally got the gun working. And then I decided to make another trap that is arguably even meaner than the random jump height thing. And what is that, you ask? Well, do you remember the staircase level in Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon? Well, I made a very similar section. You step on the pressure plate, you get sent all the way back. And you have to remember every single safe pressure plate. Isn't that fun?
No.
And that is pretty much it. Thank you all so much for watching this video. It was a lot of fun streaming the development process of this game. And you can download it right now on GameJolt. And yeah, that's basically it. Have fun suffering, idiots!